You are a visual aid to the world of how God is going to glorify himself to this world. He is using you. He is using your children. And the way that he is going to step in as Father is going to show them what it looks like for God to be Father. You're going to learn how to fight those spiritual battles. I love Psalm 18, verses 34 to 36, where he tells us that he trains my hand for battle, so my arms can bend the bow of bronze. He is training you to be a warrior. More than anything, a prayer warrior. Welcome to Raising Fatherless Kids, where we believe that
God is a father to the fatherless.
God is a father to the fatherless.
God is the father to the fatherless.
God is a father to the fatherless.
Welcome to the podcast, Raising Fatherless Kids. I'm your host, Lori Apon. I'm so glad you're here. Whether you've been listening for some time now or you just found us, I'm excited to bring the podcast to you today on YouTube. This is a place where we talk about God's faithfulness and the stories of others. I call those people who grew up without a dad and found God to be faithful trophies of grace. But you will also be able to get some practical help as a single and a widowed mother who might be raising a child with an absent dad. And that loss might be because of death, divorce, or desertion. Maybe you're a single mom and you're raising a son without an earthly dad. We'll give you some tips, and maybe you need wisdom and biblical truth for raising your girls. My prayer is that each episode will remind you that you're not walking this road alone, and that even in the absence of an earthly dad, God is there. He's present, He's faithful, and He's a father to the fatherless. This is episode 190. It's hard to believe we're over 3 years into bringing this informative, helpful, prayerfully encouraging podcast to you. And so today, I want to take you back to where it all began. As we are now starting Raising Fatherless Kids on YouTube, maybe you haven't been with us and you don't know the story behind the podcast or the ministry. Perspective Ministries is the one that launches this podcast. And I want to encourage you that God will be faithful. So here's my story. I will never forget the night when Psalm 68:5 was quoted in the evening service at church. It says that God is a husband to the widow and a father to the fatherless. I thought this was wonderful encouragement for all those women out there who didn't have a husband and all those children who didn't have a father. Not knowing that just 24 hours later, I would receive a knock on the door with a police officer announcing the news that my husband had taken his own life. The Holy Spirit used that verse as a script for me to tell the news to my 8 children. You have a new daddy. But God promises to be a father to the fatherless. Ladies, I'll never forget. The room broke out with wailing, but worship. As we started a new chapter of our lives, we were holding on to this promise as our anchor. For some, this reality came when they were just babies. My youngest was 13 months old. I had a 2-year-old. I had a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old. My oldest was 10. Their childhood was interrupted by tragedy as God allowed suffering into our lives. Several years before this, when trials came into my marriage, a visiting pastor at our church singled me out. He looked me in the eyes and he said, "Ma'am, I don't know what you're going through, but God is going to use it for your good and His glory. You're in transition." And so here I was again, in transition, but this time from wife to widow, and I was raising fatherless children. Recently, someone remarked that May 17th, the day of my husband's death, must have been the darkest day of my life. As I reflected on that descriptive statement, I had to disagree. Even though, yes, it was a dark day, launching us into a very dark season, the better word to describe that would be pivotal. Our world changed forever, but we had hope. We would trust God, and we took him at his promised position as father to the fatherless and a defender of the widow. A widow is defined as any woman who has been left alone, bereft. And so that is, again, for you, Mom, if you have experienced divorce or even desertion. And I want to encourage you that you're in transition and put your trust in God. Through the years, I've seen his promise come alive through the people that he's brought into our lives, his provision, and the peace that we have experienced that surpasses human understanding. And so today, I want to just give you hope, and I want to help you to know what to expect when you are raising children with God as Father. Everyone wants to know what to expect when they're facing the unknown. Whether you're going into a new city, or you're trying a new food, or even when you're expecting a baby. You know that book, What to Expect When You're Expecting? It is one of the most influential books. In the past 25 years, it has remained in the top of the top bestsellers. And knowing what to expect when raising fatherless kids will help you to prepare for the unexpected and the unwanted seasons of our lives. And so what I'm going to share with you today are just some observations from my own experience in raising a small group of children, again, under the age of 10, without a dad, and what you might anticipate as you raise your own children. The absence and the loss of their earthly dad will be a reality for their entire lives. But grief from this absence will ebb and flow over time. And for some, your children may not even really grieve that loss until later. So here are just a few things, 25, of what to expect on your parenting journey with God as Father. The first, ladies, is expect God to father your children, just as he promises. Again, that is Psalm 68:5. I am a father to the fatherless and a defender of the widow. The second is expect God to use others as a vessel for his fathering. Welcome this. Be intentional about inviting people in to be a part of your family and to help you. Expect to feel the weight of the responsibility you have been entrusted with, but let God carry this weight. Matthew 11:30 says that he says to us, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. The fourth, expect to work through your own faith and relationship with God, because this is what will be modeled and passed on to your children. And Mom, you can expect miracles. Oh, I could give you story after story about the ways that God provided for my family. In many ways, they were present-day miracles. Expect God to help you. We're told in Psalm 46:1 that he is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. The seventh thing you can expect with God as Father is that you're going to learn a lot of things, and he's going to help you. Maybe you don't know how to do a lot of things that you're nervous about, but as you take each day at a time, God is going to be there and he will help you. Expect to grow. Isaiah 40:31 says, but those who trust in the Lord will renew their strength. They will mount up on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. Expect to be tempted to feel sorry for yourself. And this is just a little word of caution. Envy, jealousy, bitterness, unforgiveness, these are all enemies to our healing. And so you want to be aware of those. And then expect to walk by faith. Hebrews 11:1 says, faith is the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not seen. Number 11, expect to live life differently from the traditional family. Yes, God designed families to have a mom and a dad, but just because your dad and the father of your children is absent, that doesn't mean your family is less than. God is working out a unique plan. And we're told in Ephesians that he prepared this before time began. He prepared good works for you and your children so that you can walk in them. Number 12, expect God to keep his promises. The Bible is full of promises, and He is going to be faithful to every single one of them. And on the other side of that, expect struggles that are not against flesh and blood. There will be conflicts along the way, but it's important to understand that there's a spiritual force working against you, and it's not always your friends and your family. Ephesians 6 tells us that our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the powers, against the world forces of this darkness, against the spiritual forces of wickedness in heavenly places. Mom, you can expect to do hard things, but God says that His grace is sufficient for you and His power is perfected in weakness. Number 15, expect those tender moments. But remember, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. And this is one of my favorite. Expect that what Satan meant for evil, God is going to use for good. I love the story of Joseph and his declaration that God was at work when he told his brothers who had done wicked and evil things to him, that all the while God was going to use it for the saving of many lives. Ladies, people are watching. You are a visual aid to the world of how God is going to glorify Himself to this world. He is using you. He is using your children. And the way that He is going to step in as Father is going to show them what it looks like for God to be Father. You're going to learn how to fight those spiritual battles. I love Psalm 18, verses 34 to 36, where He tells us that He trains my hand for battle, so my arms can bend the bow of bronze. He is training you to be a warrior. More than anything, a prayer warrior. Number 19, you can expect to lead as God leads you. I know it feels like you've lost your covering. You've lost the head of your home when Dad is not there. But Isaiah tells us in chapter 40, verse 11, that God tends His flock like a shepherd. He gathers His lambs in His arms and He carries them close to His heart. He gently leads those that have young. Yes, you're going to step into a leadership role, leading your children, but God is going to lead you. He sees you, Mom, and He knows the weight of responsibility, but He is with you. Number 20, expect to be tested. We are told that we should not be surprised by the trials that come as some strange thing, but we're to rejoice just as we're sharing in Christ's sufferings, because God's glory is being revealed. Expect for your family to bond together and not apart. Oh, it's going to be beautiful to see how God works among you and your children. It's going to be amazing. And when they grow up, they're going to have a story to tell of God's faithfulness, and they're going to share a bond of friendship that prayerfully will last forever and into the next generation. The 22nd thing to expect is expect to receive. And I know asking for help is so hard. It feels impossible. But just consider yourself at a front row seat where God is teaching you so many things in the ways that others are giving to you. You are going to turn around and give back, and you're going to comfort in the same way that you've been comforted. So expect to receive, but then expect to give. And expect the need for endurance. God is at work, and we're told in James that the testing of our faith produces endurance, so that we will be lacking in nothing. And so God is using this trial and even the suffering that your children are experiencing at a young age to prepare you and to mold you and to shape you into the woman that He wants you to be, and for your children, the men and women that He has destined for them to be. He's using this. And the last one, ladies, is you can expect God to be God. Some of the sweetest moments in my life came from watching God father my children in tender and supernatural ways. When I didn't have the answers for their tears, God was comforting us. When I was overwhelmed, He brought support. When I was inadequate, and we are, He was there. And before I knew it, my children were leaving the nest. Ladies, raising children is for a season. From birth to 18. So 18 years at the most, you're going to raise a child. I know, while you're in the middle of it, it seems forever. But when you get to my place in life, it really is true that the days are long, but the years are short. And when my empty nest was in sight, I knew I wanted to give the next season of my life to encourage women and children to put their trust in God. And Perspective Ministries is here to testify that God will be faithful. So Perspective Ministries comes alongside of widows in several ways. We offer hope boxes. We have hope gatherings. We partner with Hope Gathering. And each box has a Widow Life magazine that is for widows by death. We walk in when others walk out, offering hope. Every resource, every story, every act of care has one purpose, and that's to remind families that God sees, He provides, He is near, He will be faithful, and He is a father to the fatherless. The purpose of this podcast is because I wanted to encourage single and widowed moms to know that you're not alone. God is with you, and your children, they are going to be okay when you encourage them to look to God as Father. Week after week, I've had the privilege of sharing stories of God's faithfulness from men and women who grew up fatherless, but now they can see that God's redemptive hand was weaving a story for their good and for God's glory. And so I pray that you'll come back. It's my heart to offer truth and tenderness, to meet you in your pain, but also to help you move forward with practical guidance. And as we bring this podcast to YouTube, I hope you'll not only hear these stories, but see faces of those who've experienced God's faithful love firsthand. By the end of the year, prayerfully, we are going to have the resource entitled Absent Dad, Present Father. It's a book full of stories of men and women who experienced absence, but also found God to be present. I can't wait to have that to put into your hands. It's a devotional, moms, that you can share with your children. Next week, you'll meet one of my sons, Evan, and he chose to live as a victor and not a victim. So whether you're just beginning this journey or maybe you're years down the road, I pray that you'll find comfort here, strength for your days, and confidence in putting your trust in God, who does promise to be a father to your children.